about to leave university bright-eyed, overdrafted, and clutching a second-hand kettle, someone inevitably wheels out the career aptitude test. You know the one, a supposedly scientific set of oddly vague questions that promises to divine your professional destiny, despite offering choices like, do you prefer organizing events or dissecting frogs? It's esoteric, vaguely Orwellian, and you complete it mostly out of a mixture of curiosity and quiet dread. I took one of these tests at 20. It suggested I became an advertising executive, journalist, writer, librarian, and for reasons still unclear, an engineer, deep sea diver, and, wait for it, astronaut. At the time, as I was working in a bank, and I remember being flooded with relief that banker hadn't made the list. Even then, it felt like a lesser career and more a hostage situation in a pinstripe suit. My subsequent encounters with banks have mostly been returning as a lunchtime speaker about my experiences as a travel journalist and broadcaster. These sessions would end with me asking the question if there were any questions. Some did, out loud, but it was the queue that quietly formed afterwards that told the real story. These weren't questions about Antarctica or camel routes through Rajasthan. They were whispered confessions. How did I manage to leave the bank? And I hate it here. How do I become a travel writer? The moral of the story is simple. No career is wasted, even the one you couldn't wait to escape. It might become the first chapter in your novel, the anecdote that cracks open a speech, or the experience that teaches you what not to do, all of which are surprisingly valuable. Your first job doesn't have to be your last, and your career path doesn't have to be a path at all. Sometimes it's more of a scenic detour with excellent material. I'm Sarah Tucker, novelist, journalist, broadcaster, yoga instructor, lecturer, and biographer of Edward Dabono, the man who invented the concept of lateral thinking. And I'm here to talk about something that has not only changed my life, but redefined my definition of success, lateral living. A way of thinking that stretches across careers, fields, identities, and time. When I left my job in a bank and started teaching yoga in schools, children's books, producing radio and TV shows, and even writing fiction, someone asked me, are you all right? As if deviation from a linear path is a diagnosis. But the truth is, it was liberation. I wasn't falling apart, I was falling into place. So, what is a polymath? It's not just someone with an overactive curiosity and a cluttered browser history, though that helps. A polymath is a person whose knowledge spans multiple fields and who connects those dots in ways that actually do something creatively, practically, sometimes beautifully. They're often labeled Renaissance people, which sounds flattering until you realize it usually means does too many things to explain at dinner parties. But the heart of it is this. Polymaths don't just collect knowledge, they cross pollinate it. They're not dabblers, they're translators between disciplines. It's not about hoarding facts, it's about expressing them in ways that matter, whether through equations, choreography, strategy decks, or 3-hour jazz improv sessions that somehow solve a problem at work the next day. In short, polymathy is curiosity with consequences. Think Leonardo da Vinci, who was not only a painter but an engineer, anatomist, architect, and inventor. That breadth made him powerful. And what exactly is a portfolio career? Think of it less like climbing one corporate ladder and more like tending a well-designed greenhouse, carefully cultivating different plants, each requiring different conditions, but together creating something resilient, diverse, and remarkably alive. A portfolio career is a professional life made up of multiple concurrent roles, revenue streams, or areas of expertise. It's not about scattering your focus, it's about deploying your full range. Where the traditional job model asks, what's your title? A portfolio career asks, what's in your toolkit and where can it take you? Much like an investor diversifies assets to stay agile in volatile markets, the polymath diversifies skills to stay relevant, creative, and independent in a world that rewards adaptability over allegiance. And no, It's not indecision, it's architecture. It's the ability to draw links across disciplines, how behavioral economics can inform product design, how systems thinking can enhance city planning, or how a background in engineering might sharpen your eye for brand strategy. A portfolio career isn't a fallback, it's a future facing strategy designed not just to survive disruption, but to interpret it, influence it, and occasionally outsmart it. Current research estimates that only around 2,400 people globally achieve true mastery across multiple disciplines, fewer, in fact, than those who reach Nobel level excellence in a single field. Yet this deliberate breadth has underpinned some of the most original and influential careers of our time. Maya Angelou, poet, dancer, journalist, civil rights activist. Hedy Lamarr, screen legend and co-inventor of the technology behind Wi-Fi. Steve Jobs credited a single calligraphy class with shaping Apple's design ethos. Elon Musk shifts between physics, AI, space engineering, and cultural provocation, often simultaneously. This isn't fringe, it's becoming foundational. Cross-disciplinary thinkers don't just advance industries, they reimagine them. Like Baroness Helena Kennedy's husband, a neurosurgeon whose breakthrough came from an article on aviation he read in an in-flight magazine. That's lateral thinking made literal. And Mark Zuckerberg, whose intellectual range spans code, user psychology, cultural dynamics, and the evolution of social behavior. These are not generalists in disguise, they are multi-domain specialists who rewire problems, accelerate innovation, and occasionally change the rules entirely. So why does polymathy matter? Well, because professionally, polymaths outperform. In Forbes, it was argued that being a polymath is no longer optional. It's increasingly essential for success. Today's most forward-thinking companies aren't hiring just ladder climbers. They're sinking minds with breadth, boldness, and beautifully varied CVs. People who think across functions, not just up hierarchies. Einstein turned to music when stuck on equations. Da Vinci designed machines between paintings. But being a polymath and developing a portfolio career comes with a warning: Leonardo syndrome. The tendency to leap from passion to passion, leaving a trail of unfinished projects, 5 tabs open, nothing saved. The key is balancing intellectual curiosity with deliberate structure, deep work, focused sprints, and smart tools, including AI, to convert eclectic interest into usable range. Why does this matter in practice? Because when the accountant becomes a filmmaker, the films balance. When the coder becomes a chef, their recipes debug themselves. When the violinist becomes a CEO, meetings end on time. Polymaths make better decisions, generate fresher ideas, and adapt faster. Like a director who started as a cameraman, they aren't fobbed off with "it can't be done." They know exactly what can be done. The challenges of our era, cyber threats, global instability, information overload, demand minds that can pivot, synthesize, and hold multiple possibilities at once. This is polymathic minds. And the data backs it. Research by Dr. Robert Root Bernstein found Nobel Prize winning scientists were 25% more likely to sing, dance, or act than average scientists, 17% more likely to be visual artists. These aren't distractions, they're cognitive cross trainers, a pattern not just seen in science, but across business, design, and leadership. Those fluent in multiple domains consistently outperform those confined to one. This is not a plan B, it's a new blueprint for the future of intelligent work. So being a polymath is good for business and even better for your sanity. A portfolio life brings personal freedom. It means living in full colour, not just in job title grey. Your identity isn't tethered to one role, one employer, or one LinkedIn update. It's layered, resilient, and adaptable. When someone asks, "What do?" you don't freeze. You offer a curated playlist, not a single track. The diversity builds emotional intelligence by default. When you've been a teacher, a temp, a translator, you don't just read the room, you edit the script. And let's talk about empathy. In human resources, it slows down redundancies. In call centres, it derails the script. In care homes, it saves lives. In novel writing, it wins awards and sends you to therapy. Even your so called soft skills aren't accessories, they're infrastructure. They power connection, creativity, and coping. And when your career shifts, they come with you. So, yes, polymathy isn't just good for your CV, it's good for your soul. You'd think in an age of infinite information and cross-disciplinary tools, polymaths would be everywhere, yet they're rare. And it's not because curiosity or talent are in short supply. The challenge lies in how our world is wired to resist polymathy. First, much of academia, but not all, still lives in the stone age of specialization. Doctorate programs are like one-way trains. You dive deep and never look up. Imagine Leonardo da Vinci stuck doing a 3-year dissertation solely on the physics of water flow. Brilliant, but hardly Mona Lisa level. Then there's the job for life, older generations. Our parents and grandparents bought into linear career ladders. Start at the mailroom, retire at the corner office. This mindset planted a cultural script. Stick to your lane, climb your ladder, repeat. Polymaths, they seem like career rebels or job hoppers with commitment issues. Media and politics love their simple stories. We crave experts who fit neat boxes: the lawyer, the scientist, the entrepreneur. Polymaths break that formula, making it hard for them to get a headline or a vote. Imagine trying to sell a politician who's part data scientist, part jazz musician, part chef. Voters want certainty, not delightful confusion. Then there's the advertising industry, that master of packaging people like products. They want you to be the fitness guru or tech whiz, not the yoga teaching, coding, novel writing weekend warrior. Polymaths don't sell well because their brand defies categorization. Finally, social pressure and behavioral biases play their part. We humans crave for belonging and clarity. Being a jack of all trades can feel like wearing a neon sign screaming, "I don't fit in here." Even well meaning peers and managers urge us to pick a lane or risk being seen as unfocused or unreliable. In short, the systems, stories, and social norms we operate in reward narrow focus, not breadth. The polymath challenge isn't lack of ability, it's swimming upstream in a world that prefers neat, predictable streams. So, how do you start? First, map what you know, not just your job titles, but your weird talents. Excel wizardry, obscure bird calls, spreadsheet poetry. Second, spot crossovers. Are you a teacher who could design learning platforms for tech firms? A dancer who could choreograph leadership retreats? Yes, that's the thing. And if it isn't, you can invent it. Third, develop 2 to 3 areas deeply, not just one, because the magic isn't in the depth or the breadth, it's in the combination. Fourth, share it. Start the blog, give the talk, get on the podcast. You don't need to be viral, you need to be visible. Fifth, stay curious, especially about things you don't need to know. That's where your next life might be hiding. Tools to support your lateral life? There are plenty. Read outside your comfort genre, volunteer in fields that confuse you, sit on advisory panels, learn a language, or draw badly on purpose. Write fiction if you're a scientist, study science if you're an artist. Join teams that don't need you yet. Start something that makes no money but makes sense. Mix disciplines like cocktails, unlicensed but effective. Keep a curiosity journal. Treat boredom as a red flag, not a lifestyle. Polymathy isn't a buzzword, it's your human default setting before schooling, before career ladders, and before adulting wore it down. And this is what the Nudgestock Festival is about this year: empowerment through possibility. Being a polymath isn't about monetizing your hobbies or turning every passion into a side hustle. It's about building a life that works laterally, where every experience becomes story, data, wisdom, and maybe one day a TED Talk. Power comes from understanding. When you've worked across sectors, no one can bluff you. You have what I call multi-perspective truth. That's power with context, strategy with soul, spreadsheets with feeling. Edward Dabono saw all of this coming. He believed children should be taught lateral thinking early, before their brains memorize the tram lines. He said, the mind is a patterning system. Change the pattern, change the outcome. He was a rebel in a suit, a logic ninja, a polymath champion. My biography of Edward de Bono, Love Laterally, is about exactly that, about learning to value the sidestep, not just the ladder. We need polymaths, not just to make things, but to make sense of things. And that, these days, is the rarest skill. So, I recently turned 60, and like many people at that milestone, I went up to the loft, not to find the Christmas decorations, but to take stock. Because that dusty loft, it's not just storage, it's your archive of choices. And the question is, what do you want to find up there? One box neatly labeled career, or shelves stacked with curiosity and chaos, yoga mats, unfinished screenplays, spreadsheets from that startup idea, your second best TEDx pitch, rejection letters you were secretly proud of, a worn passport, a museum ticket from Tokyo, and a playlist you made during a reinvention. It's a myth that polymaths are scattered. The truth, they are architects of lives rich with depth and range. Their lofts aren't cluttered, they're curated. So, how do you know if you're one of them? Ask yourself three things. First, what have I always loved doing, even if no one was watching or paying? Two, what do I already know could cross over into something unexpected? Three, what's in my metaphorical loft and what do I wish were up there? Because this isn't about everything everywhere all at once. It's about being everything you already are more deliberately. Being the deep sea diver and the philosopher, the banker who paints, the coder who teaches breath work, the project manager who writes poetry and absolutely nails it. Every role has purpose, every skill a perspective, and every misstep compost for reinvention. So build laterally, think laterally, live laterally, because your power doesn't lie in staying in the box. It's knowing who built the box, what's beyond it, and occasionally turning it into a bookshelf with a secret drawer. Thank you.